welcome to Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Melissa.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Will.
I'm Sarah. And I'm Katie.
And Ryan's off camera!
There it is, I see his arm. We've got another exciting Tantrum. What's on the table for you guys this morning? We're going to be looking at a bunch of different games that we've been playing recently. We'd love to know which games you guys have been playing recently. And feel free to just tune in and chat. We're going to try to check messages as we go, but we're going to go fast and furious like we usually do for what's on the table.
Question is the sound good?
Can you hear us? That's question number one. Let us know in the comments. We're going to switch over to our cool intro video, and then we'll be back to get the show started. Alright, so the first game on the table is a Christmas classic. I mean, I don't know if it's a classic yet, but it's a Christmas classic movie.
Yeah.
We've got Die Hard from The Op on the table. Give us a quick rundown of what we're looking at, Sarah.
So this is a one versus many game. One of you will be playing John McClane, and you will be trying to thwart the thieves who are trying to make the heist. And the unique thing about this game is when you set it up, you don't actually open the board all the way. You start with the board still folded, and Act 1 is the plaza on the 31st floor. And you set up the game. The John McClane has specific objectives for Act 1, and the thieves have objectives for the round as well. And the thieves, they have this specific deck with numbers, and they are putting together a lock combination to try and they will each play cards each turn, and they are trying to get these numbers to come up together. So they'll get either trying to get a 5 and a 1 together, or a 5 and a 7, a 9 and a 3, and they're trying to work together to cover up all of these locks so that they can unlock and make it to the next level.
And then once they do, they unfold the board, they move to the next level, and they basically repeat the process, but there'll be new things coming out each round, and then they'll finally ultimately make it to the rooftop, where they will lay on top of all the pieces on the board.
Yep.
And hopefully stop them from escaping in the helicopter.
Yes, so John McClane, like the movie, is trying to thwart Hans Gruber and save the day.
They say it's the best Christmas movie turned into the best Christmas board game.
That's right!
It's a good claim worth making. Yeah, definitely an interesting concept. I do like the board unfolding. The minis for it are a little lackluster. They're very just straightforward, tiny guys. But overall, I think you're looking for a pretty neat game experience, especially if you're a fan of the movies. The artwork in the game, I guess they must not have gotten all their licensing rights, because you're looking at silhouettes for most of the pieces. But it's obvious who's what, and they use names, and so pretty cool finish on the boxes and different things, decent table presence. I like the concept of the one versus many, where you're actually the good guy, because in most cases the one versus many is the monster dude trying to stop everybody, and in this one the one dude is trying to save the day, everybody else is working against him. So nice little flip on the head there. Looking forward to giving this the full run through a couple times, and really see if we can get to the rooftop and actually stop them and win the game. You guys ready over there?
We are ready.
What's up next?
We have Deranged from Hobby World. This is a semi-co-op adventure fantasy game. And
A little bit of horror, maybe.
Yeah, a little horror, definitely. A little bit of horror. And when I look at the box, I think Betrayal and Hassle to Hill at first, like when I see that. But this is your group of heroes, and it's, like I said, it's semi-co-op. So you are sort of working together because of these monsters that are on the board, but you have an ultimate goal of getting to the Enchanted Gate first without any curses or being what they call deranged, because during the night, you could become deranged, and you actually sort of almost are a traitor in a sense, because you have a different goal now. I think you can become underanged, de-deranged, if you can actually kill another human hero. So yeah, or you can get exorcism or something like that. So anyway, do you want to talk about what you got in the cards?
So
and stuff?
You have cards in your hand, and they have a bunch of different symbols, and depending on if you are a human player or if you're deranged, you have different options. There's different parts of the card. So you're going to have movement and attack. You're trying to get to different places and pick up items.
Right. If you notice on the board here, there is a lot of arrows. So when Melissa talks about movement, you'll notice that they have colors on them, and you actually are moving on these different color checks. So you have the blues and the greens and the
like the reds or the ladders.
Peaches.
Yeah.
But there are ways to portal around the board, and you can use your cards to move. You can use your cards to like interact with things. You can use your cards to attack. You can look at these cool monsters here. I think the miniatures are well made. I kind of dig the art style. I'll try and put some of the player things here. But you're tracking your health and your sanity. You have a sort of an asymmetrical power with your player. Of course, then you have a different kinds of monsters. Oh, yeah, there's a werewolf and a hungry ghost, and
that's a character.
Oh, this is a character. What's she doing in there?
I put them there.
Melissa put them. Here's all the monsters. So, werewolf, and there's the Walking Dead, the Necromancer, the Gargoyle. But the other interesting thing about this game is the rules help you sort of play through one round of a game, sort of get you like an introductory game to get you familiar with how the game works. But then there's actually scenarios, and there's a bunch of different scenarios, chapters that you can go through that really enhance the gameplay. So you can have to go through that, and of course the main objective is to try to get to that enchanted gate. But yeah, pretty cool game. Some games that reminded us of this game is
a little bit of Betrayal on the House of the Hill, Final Hour, Arkham Horror Final Hour. There was another one, Horrified. They all kind of have that. You're moving around. There are monsters. Some of them are cooperative. Some of them are semi-cooperative.
Yeah.
So really interesting if you like that theme.
Yeah, and I didn't say this, but there's a day phase and a night phase. You can do an action during the day phase, and during the night it costs you a little bit more to do things. During the night phase, there's a monster phase. So if you're familiar with these like Arkham Horror style games, I think you'd be able to pick this one up super quick. But if not, I think it's still the rule book does help you go through the game very easily. So check out Deranged if that sounds of interest to you from Hobby World. Back to the couch.
All right, so we are looking at mental blocks on the couch. This is an interesting one that I got to see at, I think, Gen Con or Origins earlier this year. And I've seen a lot of people using it as like a team building exercise. It's an abstract puzzle game, and it introduces some cool things that we haven't necessarily seen in some other games. What's Team 3 is an interesting game where you're kind of, you're working together to build a structure. In this one, the way the game works is that each time you'll set up the game, you'll find all the cards necessary for the puzzle that you're working on, which are labeled by little numbers, which is really cool. And then you'll sleeve those looking at only the back side of the card so that nobody knows what parts of the puzzle they're looking at. And then everybody gets their card, you reveal it, you set a timer if you are hardcore, otherwise you just take a long time to try to figure it out. But you're supposed to set a timer, and then you look at your card, and the interesting thing is your card is only from a 1D perspective, so you know that one side of the puzzle is going to have, a white block and a yellow at the top and a white at the bottom, but who knows if that is a, triangle with a piece on top, or if the blue is, a 1-cuber or a 2-cuber, and so you're all working from your own perspective at the table. Usually I think it's 4-point perspective, although it looks like maybe there's a 5th, I don't know. And you get it to look right from your side, and then you communicate with everybody else on your team. The only thing you can't say is which angle you're looking at, and then everybody has to kind of move around and see like, oh, if I stand here, it does match my card. I'm able to build that. The first couple are a whole lot easier for sure. Like you can pretty much nail those, I think, on the first try. As soon as you get to like level 2 or level 3, like it's kind of mind blowing. Honestly, you don't know what piece you're looking for or where it's supposed to go at. You want to talk about that? There's a trader mechanic in the game, which is kind of interesting.
So there are some cards that have a green hammer on them and the angel wings, and then there are some that have a little devil's tail on the hammer.
And so this guy obviously gets the full perspective of what it is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
But as he's playing, he's not telling you the story. So he's trying to run out the time on the clock.
Or reconfigure something so that it doesn't quite fit, but it looks like it might from another perspective. Yeah, so
and essentially ruin the game for everybody.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful. You don't have to play with that one. That's an optional variant. It does play up to a bunch of players because you can have several different angles that people have, or you can include the traders.
So it plays 2 to 9 players, and this is from Perilous Games.
Yeah, it's a pretty slick one. I've seen a lot of people talking about it. We played it a couple times. I played it a couple times. Had some fun with it. It's if you enjoy those types of games like Team 3 where you're building stuff, that's pretty cool. This definitely adds a whole nother level to it of, just thinking through it, communicating with each other. Usually you're cooperative. You may not know if you have a trader. You can play in cases where you may or may not have one. A lot of different things that are going on that are pretty neat. And then the game comes with this huge deck of cards. So you've got individual, these are each, formation. I don't know what the word is. And then you've got this huge deck of additional cards, and it comes with all the sleeves as well, so that you can sleeve the back sides. Plays decently quick. This is definitely the type of game where when you get done with one, if you're successful, you're like, oh yeah, give me the next one. We can totally do this. And then if you fail, you're like, oh, my brain doesn't work. I can't do it. So it may or may not be your type of game. But if you do like that kind of challenge, really cool. One other one I didn't mention is when you play with higher player counts, some of the people will have the colors so they know which colors go where. Other people will actually have the 3-dimensional pieces, and I don't know if we can get a close-up of this shot, but it's really interesting because it doesn't, even though it gives you some information, it doesn't give you all of the information, which is pretty crazy. So you kind of know one side has got some steps to it, but you may still not know exactly what the other side has. So I found that when you play with fewer players and everybody has a little more information, it's a little bit easier. When you play with a bunch of players, then you start getting conflicting opinions because even though they think they know what they're talking about, it'll end up contradicting, I think it should be this way. I don't know. Really, really interesting gameplay for sure on that one. So yeah, check out Mental Blocks from Pandasaurus. Back to you guys at the table.
Yes, we just hopefully fixed the couch volume. So it was on negative 10 decibels, so hopefully it's a little better. Anyway, we are moving on to a game called Fluttering Souls. This is being published by Good Games Publishing, and it is a set collection type game.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me a lot of Seven Wonders Duel.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have your cards laid out in a shape, a pattern with some face up and some face down, and there are tons of different patterns that you can use, and they're all going to be different depending on which ones you have pulled. We have set up the cards in a specific pattern.
Yeah, so we have the pattern set up, and basically on your turn you're going to be grabbing a card, which then may or may not reveal cards underneath.
Right, so...
Oh, I'll take a card. So if I do this, then one flips over, and it's the blue Morpho. Very cool. So basically throughout the game you're doing that, and you are, I'll take another 88.
Hey, it's my...
Oh, it's your turn?
It's my turn.
Oh.
Hey, skip my turn.
Skip her turn.
Fine, I'll take that 88.
Fine.
Well, there's another one.
There's
so it doesn't matter.
Anyway, and you keep going back and forth. I think if you like set collection type games, this is a very solid one, and its packs are really small. The butterfly theme works well with it.
Yeah, and each type of card has a different set collection. So some of them you're trying to get 2 or 3 or 4. There's also, the second player has this little card that I can actually put down to
block things?
To block, and it's not worth any points. Someone eventually is going to have to take it.
Wow. So, man, that's crazy. So this artwork, I think, is really well too. I think it has a more realism to it, and the butterfly theme, like I said before, I think is pretty hot right now. I mean, you have other games like Papillon, things like that. So if you enjoy set collection type games, if you enjoy, if you like Seven Wonders Duel, I think those marry well together.
Yeah, and like Kevin said, I think that it's 2-player only, but lots and lots of different patterns, so it's going to be different every single time, depending on what sort of pattern you're going. You're trying to collect the white butterfly, so you're going to play several rounds to see who can get the butterflies.
Yes. That is Fluttering Souls. Will, how's it going on the couch?
I'm getting close. You can come over and say hi to me.
I'll come say hi and talk about... Someone said thank you for fixing the volume.
Oh yeah, good.
So,
Glad that worked.
here fixing the volume. Man, this is a deep couch.
Right?
There we go.
So Mage League from somebody cool. Their logo is an owl. I got a chance to play this at Southern Fried Gaming Expo in Atlanta.
Cool.
It's been a little while back, and I've had it sitting on my table. I've been wanting to pull it back out, and it's a pretty slick dice rolling game that has a lot of stuff going on. In the game, each player has their own little counter board where they'll be tracking the amount of mana and energy that they've been able to pull off. Cool. You pick your little character, you guys start, you're trying to travel through this magical land. You have to be able to afford the mana on each card to be able to flip it, and when you do, special things will happen as you travel. Usually those are good things that are going to happen. Well, it's usually a mix. Like you'll either get a little bit of stuff and something bad will happen to you, or you'll be able to reduce the cost of the next event or something like that. So these all change. There's a whole deck of different experiences as you travel through the different locations. I think this is actually the solo player setup where you are trying to
Why am I even here?
I know. I don't even need you. The Evertree alive, which is pretty cool. And as you are able to travel, you can then be attacked by monsters, which is pretty awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I really like the terminology for it. It's a very magical game. The idea is that on your turn, you roll some dice, and you're able to do things like, that was a terrible roll, but you might keep one or two, and then re-roll the rest.
Really Yahtzee style?
Yep, Yahtzee style, as long as you keep going. You're trying to get matches of icons so that you can put those into your collection, and you will be able to collect energy based off your matches, or if you put things up here and focus them, then you can improve your mana. And basically they both do the same thing. They're what you pay for materials with, but the mana stays from round to round. So you may want to sacrifice to build up some mana so you can buy a more expensive card in the future, or you may just want to max out and get a bunch of points for this round. And then you're purchasing these cards, you add them to your grimoire, and when you do, in future turns, if you roll that symbol, you can decide to activate the card and take the action on it. The reason the game is pretty cool is because it's got this engine building aspect to it.
Oh, so the more cards, the better you're doing?
Yeah, and not just that, but a lot of times like the cards of a similar type will chain react. So maybe I only have to activate one of these cards, but if I have 3 more of these red skulls, I get to activate all the cards. So by the end of the game, you're flipping your tile over because you've got whatever, tons more mana coming in. Now you can afford really cool cards, you can travel through the locations, and then ultimately you take down all the bosses and win the game.
Cool. This is 1 to 4, like Will saying, this could be played solo, 60 to 90 minutes for a small box game.
Right. It's very meaty. All these cards have been really well thought out. Like the 2 or 3 times that I played it, and like I said, it's been 6 months. The 2 or 3 times that I played it, you feel like, man, I totally mastered the moon strategy. Now I got 16 other decks to choose from, or whatever. I don't know, 6 other faces, at least 5. And each one of them works a little bit differently and has a different feel to it as you chain them. It is competitive, so you're trying to beat the other person to the end. And it does, I believe, have a campaign with it as well. Because I know you can multiple times play it. It's not just a one-time type of game.
This is from Familiar Games to help Will out. Familiar
Thanks for
could
helping
be you could say it's a familiar.
Yeah, the game designer Joseph Butler, I believe he's actually brothers with Audubon, the guy behind Parks.
Cool, Parks.
So yeah, they've definitely worked together on this a little bit. They've put a lot of thought into it. I think this is like the 2nd edition of art for the game, and they also have expansions planned coming soon too.
Cool.
So really neat concept, very chewy as you're playing it. So I've enjoyed that one.
I think it's back to the table.
So we are looking at Cloaked Cats or Cloaked Cats. This is from Haba. And in this game, everyone has some characteristics about their cat that they have secret. And we are going to a masquerade, and we're going to be trying to figure out what characteristics the other cats have and try and deduce information. So it's a simple kids game, but then there's plenty of thinking involved in deducing. So on your turn, you have a hand of cards that have some cats on them, and you will play one from your hand out on the table for everyone to see, and then everyone will place a mask on the card if that cat also has one of their characteristics. So this one happens to have one of mine, so I will put my mask on. And then at the end of your turn, you can decide if you would like to make a guess to see if you can guess what some of the other cat's characteristics are, and you're trying to be the last cat revealed.
So the characteristics, and there's a little card that shows there's the position of the cat, there's the color of the cat. Some of them have stripes, some of them have spots, some of them have extra little party things like hats or mice or yarn balls. So you can probably see at some of the ones that are facing the camera that there are several attributes. And so as more cards come out and people put their masks on, you can be like, oh, is it the same characteristic or is it a different one? So it has a little bit of that deduction aspect to the game.
Yeah, this one has fun artwork. The iconography is easy enough for kids to play, but it's one that adults won't mind playing with their kids. It's very fun with adults and kids playing. These little fans are a pretty fun component. It helps hold the cards. That's something that I know kids sometimes have a hard time keeping cards hidden from other players, and this solves that problem of having a card that you need to still be reminded of what it is, but keep it secret from everybody else. That's something that is very helpful in the game, and it gives a nice table presence too. So this is Cloaked Cats from Haba, and I think the guys are still working on setting up their game because it is a massive game.
A monster of a game.
A monster of a game.
Hey, we're back. We are back with Smash City from WizKids. This is from a friend of ours, Steve Avery, and he showed us this prototype of this probably two or 3 years ago. And cool that it is out from WizKids. Look, I mean, I know we're gonna explain the game in just a second, but look at these dice.
They are pretty fantastic. They're like foam rubber, so they're solid.
They are solid,
but they're not gonna like tink and break or anything
so
like
each
that.
of us is a monster?
Right, so you start off the game, each person selects their player board, which has its own set of special powers and abilities. Basically, on your turn...
Where's the blue die?
I don't know, that's the best one, right?
There's none.
I'm sad about that. There's cars on the board, there's tanks, there's buildings. On your turn, you're trying to chuck a die at a building, which is harder to knock over than you might think.
Let me try.
Yeah, try to knock one over. If the die falls off the board, so you did good, you got lucky. I think this dice might have
That's
helped
not
you.
called lucky, that's called skill.
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 If you were able to chuck it and knock over the building and not cause anything to fall off the board, which I'm incapable of doing, then you score different points. If buildings touch each other, you score different points. You can create these hazard points where things touch each other. You can move around the cars and the armies, and you're trying to avoid the armies ending up in the same square as you, so you have to maybe defend against the tanks that are in this area. You also got cards that you're drawing each turn to see what special effects or things might happen. Sometimes they're power-ups, sometimes they're not good for you.
Definitely a kid-friendly...
Crazy dexterity fun game. You would play this at a party when you want that big table presence thing in the middle, and you want people to be able to just chuck things. Once all the buildings, you score points for the buildings as they fall over, but once they're all over, the game is still not over. I think you still keep going, and I don't even actually remember what the end thing is, but you're then trying to get buildings to like touch each other, or your die to touch multiple buildings. And there's just a lot of different ways to score. You do have health, so you can definitely die by player elimination.
Oh, okay.
Other players will be moving those tanks into your space and trying to kill you and things like that. But lots of different crazy pieces, a lot of just big fun table presence. I don't know what the player count is, 4, I guess, 4 players.
4 players. So the people are asking, are you saying meow? Were you saying meow earlier back there?
Is that the cat mug?
I think they were talking about meow. And then someone was asking about, what does chewy or crunchy mean? Because they were using those words earlier.
Yeah, I think I said that in the other one. Basically just a lot to chew on. So when you're rolling those dice and you have a bunch of different options, trying to process which one is the best one for me this time. Should I re-roll and push it and try to score different points a different way?
So thinking.
Right.
So
when you have a
really
lot of stuff
decisions to make.
To process and to think through.
Yeah. The game mat is literally just paper, so that would be a concern of mine. Personally, I wish it was sort of like a game mat.
Or a mat.
Yeah, mat would have been cool.
They might have like promo mats for it.
The game toppers mat, because that would have been cool. Yeah, that's cool. Smash City from WizKids.
Feels a little like Smash Up.
It does. Back. Are we ready back at the table?
Yes, we are.
All right.
So we are talking about Bon Appetit, which Ryan keeps telling me I'm saying wrong. Did I get it right? I don't know.
I think you got it.
You think I got it right that time? This is a bidding game. You're going to be bidding on desserts and main courses and appetizers. And what you're going to be doing is the bidding works with these different colored gems here. And the main part of this is that depending on what you bid, you can choose. We've got a variable amount of what these are worth currently. Like green is worth 1, but the yellow gem is worth 4. So what you choose to bid with depends on how much it's worth, how much you want what's out, and what happens is, let's say, you know, I choose to bid with these two. Sarah's choosing her two. You'll reveal. I'm sorry, you don't have to choose 2. You can choose more than that.
I chose 2.
I just gave away information that I chose 2. So we count this up. I have a total of 5 because I've got the 1 plus the 4. Sarah has
6. Because
6.
I have 3 and 3.
Yes. So what happens with this is she will then take the one that she wants, and these have different abilities. Some of them are just worth points, but some have abilities that they will help you with future rounds of bidding, so you have to really think about what you want to choose. She chooses one.
I am taking the cake.
You're taking the cake.
It has +1 for bidding Cup of Kings and +1 for bidding main course. So that will help me out later on. So I am taking this one. I believe it also is a point.
It's worth
at
1
the
point.
end.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that
So
one.
what happens then is that the value of the gems change depending on what colors were used in the winning bid. So Sarah used blue, so they're going to go down in value, and then the ones that didn't get chosen are going to go up in value with a max of 4. So the 2 that I chose are not given away. I keep those, but they're now worth a little more when I'm bidding. So if I have a handful of yellow, I may not win a couple of bids, but I'll eventually have a ridiculous amount to work with. So it's really interesting, the changing there of the bids. You have to really kind of look at what you've got in your hand, look at what's going to go up, what's going down, and how that's going to affect your ability to get the cards that you're wanting as you play the game. So that is
Bon Appetit, and it is from Strawberry Studio, and it is a 2 to 4 player game.
Yes. Are y'all ready over
Sure.
at the couch?
I think, is it just me? Just me. By myself. That's okay. Welcome back to the couch.
I'll come sit with you, Kevin.
Oh, thanks, Katie. So this is a game called Embers of Memory. It's a Throne of Glass game. Is anybody familiar with the author, Sarah Moss? Maas? She has a whole book series. It looks really cool. I've never read any of the books.
Actually, I'm familiar with some of the titles of these books, but
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Cool.
I've seen them. I've not read any, but I've seen them.
So, first of all, this is from Osprey Games, and it's got one of those cool boxes where it's like, it opens up.
Yeah.
It's like a
Like a book.
So pretty cool. And in this game, it's a 1 or 2 player game. So these are the 2 players that you can play. I don't even know how to say their names. I'm thinking Rowan
Yeah, that sounds
and Aelin.
Aelin. We'll go with that.
Okay. So anyway, in this game, you can play a prologue, and you have this shuffled deck of cards. The interesting thing in this game is it has to do with his memories, and you have these cards that you are trying to play. And I picked bad, but you have to try to match. You have to try to match the different cards on top of each other, so they have to sort of match each other like that. So I couldn't
some
place
only
like
go.
that.
Yes, they only go in specific
And
spots.
I can't it has to cover a card.
Oh.
So the next one, I could probably go. I could do that. I could do that up there. So I wouldn't be allowed to do that. So there's definitely ways of.
Oh.
I think actually I could do that because it covers that like that.
Oh,
See
so I
that?
see this part and this part are.
And the colors matter
specific.
too. There's lots of different. It's like suit of cards. So you have the reds and the blues and the greens and the yellows, and you are trying to progress. You're trying to get a value of 7 in your set, and you're able to then resolve cards which I don't have out right now because this actually goes through different chapters, sort of like in a book, and I don't want to reveal anything, but you have 7 chapters. 7 is like a very interesting number in this game, so you have to have it to. Oh, thank you, Katie. Is that 7?
That's where I would place
6,
it.
Thank you. So there's 7 chapters, and then at the very end there's an epilogue, and it's called the Captivity Deck. I think she gets imprisoned. So in her mind.
Oh my, that would be scary.
So if you are familiar with the Throne of Glass series, or if you like 1 or 2 player games, you're looking through more of like a scenario, more like sort of like a campaign.
So is this cooperative?
Yeah, you're working together.
Okay.
Yep. So this is based on the #1 best-selling series from Sarah Moss. So check it out if you're interested in that, from Osprey Games, Embers of Memory. Back to the table.
So I am looking at Cat Lady. This is the premium edition from AEG, and I have it set up here, and Katie is going to talk a little bit about how Cat Lady plays.
Okay, so first of all, there's a lot of really neat parts of this game. I really think it's interesting that each of the cats in here have names. Yeah, well, there's other cats in here as well. We didn't shuffle these cards. But we've got like Chester and Blackberry, so each cat is individually named, which is a lot of fun. So you've got your regular cats, you've got your stray cats, and what they do is they, the regular game cards come out in this grid, and you have to choose an entire row or column, but the previous person will then move the cat to where they just took. So let's say I decide to take this row here. It gets refilled like this, and since we didn't shuffle the deck, yeah, it's all food. I would move the cat here, so Sarah can't take this column, but she can choose like any of the different columns or the different rows, and she'll get whatever's in there. So you can't just take all of the new cards. That way everything kind of turns over. But each of the cards do a different thing. You've got food, which is really important because you have to be able to feed your cats. You're going to be collecting cats, and as you're doing that, you really need food as well. So you've got some set collection with this. You've got catnip that gives you extra victory points if you're able to get more than just one. I've got Alvin the cat here, who has a special point scoring system. He gives me an extra victory point for each orange cat that I'm able to feed. So I would then maybe be starting to look for orange cats specifically. You've got toys that mount up in points as well, and then you're able to draw out stray cats. This is actually a really good example. In the deluxe edition, they have the ability to write in your own cats. So it's really fun.
That's perfect for the cat lover.
I know, it really is. So you can write your cat's name down. They've got stickers that come with it, so you can choose the closest approximation of what your cat looks like. And then you can give them, special scoring, however you want to do that.
Score with extra food.
Oh yeah,
and,
so there's
other items.
There's so many fun little added things like this, which makes total sense when you're a cat person.
So someone's asking, is the game over when the cat knocks the game off the table?
Oh, that would be perfect.
I think that's an alternate house
Your
rule.
cat comes in and throws everything
an alternate
out.
house rule game ending scenario.
Agreed.
Gotta cry. G-Man. All right.
Yes. So y'all ready back at the couch?
We are.
All right. Back to the couch.
All right. Over here.
So
with
just
Brian.
real quick,
Brian was
as
off camera.
we start to wrap up, I wanted to give a shout out to Osprey Games.
Oh, yeah.
Or Osprey.
Osprey.
I always pronounce it wrong.
That's okay.
Osprey Games. They're launching this month their Osprey role-playing series. So they have 2 books here in their new series of role-playing games. They've got Romance of the Perilous Land, which kind of takes you through some of the British fantasy mythology tales. And there's also Paleolithic, which is not stone and not sword and sorcery like Conan the Barbarian, but even further back, stone and sorcery. Whoa. So it's basically a Stone Age type
game, but there is magic involved. So I looked at them a little bit. I haven't gotten a chance to play them, but I think it would be a lot of fun because there's a lot of familiar concepts with it. For example, in Romance of the Perilous Land, that has the background of being a falconer, and that will affect what you do when you are making a check. Most of your checks are based on your attributes. So you have 5 attributes. You have might, I think reflex and constitution, mind, which is both like your intelligence and how wise you are, and then there's something to do with personality or charisma. So you'll be rolling your attribute versus a number.
Sounds going. Oh, we're back? Okay.
Versus a number. And the target number, you'd have to roll that number or below. So, and then if you're skilled in something, you get an edge or maybe a setback if the person you're fighting is skilled in something, and that lets you roll 2 d20s at the same time. So for example, if I needed to climb and I had a 15 in my might, I think that's what you would use to climb, you have to roll on your d20 15 or below. But then if you were attacking someone with a sword, you also roll might, but you subtract how many hit dice they have towards their hit points. And so the number, you might still be having a 15 might, but the number you have to hit below, you know, if it's a beast or monster that has 2 hit dice, you'll actually have to hit a 13 or below. So I thought that was really interesting.
You're trying to roll for a low number instead of a high number?
I mean, it's...
Well, that's really unique as far as...
a nice twist on the classic D&D Pathfinder
especially for those
type
people
D20.
who hit those, you know, ones pretty often.
But otherwise, if you're familiar with D20 systems, you will be very comfortable here. And there's just a lot of great artwork
There's pretty cool
inside, and great like lore building. You can join factions like the Round Table and stuff.
So is this a guide for the game master, or is this a group can pick this game up, this book up, and
Yeah,
just use
I mean,
it?
I think that's the whole thing, is that book, and you just all build off of that.
I feel like I have to balance the camera out because there was
And then-
a gap.
Is Will gonna move over here?
Somebody's got to close it out. I don't know.
I'll help close it out. Paleomythic it's not just a different setting with the same system. They have their own setting, and so it's very tribal. You know, you've got like spears and clubs and stuff, but there's still spells and that sort of thing. And in this one, you're trying to gain traits like resilient, you know, or hardy or whatever. And if you have, depending on how many traits you have, it tells you how many d6s you roll, and you succeed on something if all of your traits, at least one of them shows up a 6. And I think if you have a trait that specifically applies to the situation, like maybe that resilient, you know, you're trying to weather a storm or something, and resilient bears in mind, you get to roll additional dice, and there's other setback type stuff that will take away dice. So it's a D6 based system.
Awesome.
It also looks like it might be a lot of fun. So these are Osprey's flagship games for their role-playing series. Check them out. Looks like they did a pretty good job. So.
Good.
All
Oh,
right,
Wilson
not
here.
Not yet.
Ryan's leaving.
Not yet. Oh,
No,
I don't
we
know.
have
He
questions.
was ready to
We
go.
have all sorts of
Yeah,
things.
you can
Oh
stay.
yeah, you can
Oh,
stay.
okay.
You just stay, Ryan.
Back over. We'll play rotate the couch game.
Ryan's coming back. So we have
Okay.
3 things. Number 1 is people asking about the time stories.
Tell
Oh,
us.
yes.
Tell us more. Put that on the table.
So it looks like sometime early 2020, the Time Stories Hadal project will be coming in English. I have seen some people writing about it in French, so I think
It's already out in
the
French.
edition
Yes.
is out. We actually have some advanced copies, so we have seen it. It is real. It is published.
Some of us haven't
but,
seen it.
I've seen the box.
Did you?
Yeah,
Did
we
you
hadn't
box?
played it yet.
But so we don't have an exact date, but it should be coming early 2020 to distributors.
Do we have a
retailers.
demo of that happening at TantrumCon?
Maybe.
Oh, we should do that.
100%.
All right, we've got more questions flying in here now.
Awesome.
Release of Tainted Grail? Not yet, but soon. Maybe next week sometime.
Yeah,
Ryan and Katie, you're working on it.
we had
Ryan?
issues where Ryan lost his voice during the time we were going to
Yeah.
record it.
That's all right.
I
so-
drug him to Pennsylvania for a week.
Yeah.
For PAX, yeah.
Yeah.
And a question
I was
about
very drugged to Pennsylvania.
story,
On multiple levels.
story behind flipping the table and all of our intros. Is something actually did someone actually throw a tantrum and that's where it all started?
It actually
So-
started with the fact that we started game nights at our house while 3 terrible twosers, what's the word for that? Toddlers were in the house.
Yeah.
Before anybody here, really.
Right.
I mean, maybe Ryan was there.
Yeah.
We were doing game nights with our neighbor and 3 crazy babies in the house. So that's where the name came from. And then as we named TantrumCon, people were like,
You have to flip a
you
table.
got, there's got to be a table flipping. And I was like, all right, we'll make it happen.
And then our intro video.
Yeah, just exuberating that energy.
I think
Will
we'll
just
just
likes to throw things.
Yeah.
honestly.
That's
in
honestly
slow
what it is.
motion, sometimes in reverse.
and
So,
have to do it over and over again and
And
reset.
pick up all the pieces.
Yeah.
so right now, Baby
Worth
Yoda,
it.
Baby Yoda is all the rage.
Woo!
So we thought, why not mix and mash up Baby Yoda with a meeple? So Will and Sarah created,
Put our heads together.
yes, a little Baby Yoda meeple. We're calling it a
Yeeple. I'm
A
calling it a
yeeple.
yeeple.
Or
According to
a-
the term.
beeple. No, a yeeple's
What?
fine.
A baby yeeple? Is that what you're going with? A baby yeeple?
Yeah, Baby Yeeple. So if you want to check out, we actually already have these for sale on our Etsy store, right?
Yeah.
So go to Etsy.com and look at our Tantrum House shop, and you can get your own decal with a little Baby Yoda
What
on
is
it.
the deadline for shipping stuff for Christmas?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
We've got t-shirts, cards, stickers.
T-shirts need to place the order by Tuesday,
Tuesday.
and
But not Baby Yoda's on a t-shirt.
No, Baby Yoda's on a T-shirt.
No, just regular
Not
t-shirts.
yet.
Yeah.
But the stickers.
You could probably make that
the
happen.
decals and Christmas cards, I will be shipping those all the way until the Monday before Christmas. You may not get them in time, but I will ship
If
all
you
the way to
order
Monday.
yours this week or like this next week, I'm pretty sure if you're in the U.S., you'll
Oh
get
yeah,
it.
you would get it in
You'll
the
definitely
US.
get
Yeah.
it.
And I think
so-
we're actually selling them as a 3-pack. Maybe even slightly different sizes. I don't know if I've talked to you about that
Okay.
yet, but applying it to mugs is hard when they wrap around the corner. So we'll send you a pack so you have some options, and if you botch one, trying to stick it to your car.
Well,
Yeah,
we have
try number two.
application tape, so it should be pretty easy
It
to
sounds
download.
easy. It is easy. It's
It's
not
really
hard,
easy.
but-
So, and Melissa?
So I definitely want to plug our top 10 videos that we've been doing. The
Yes.
guys have their top 10 of 2019. The ladies, we just filmed ours, so coming next week,
Yes.
you can get the better list.
That's right.
Make
That's
sure
right.
You can
that
turn it off
you
now.
thumb up our video and show
I
us
am
the love.
interested in seeing what you guys came up with and just how many between the 3 of you.
Over.
Are there only 30 games, or are we talking like 40 or 50? Because
We
top
did pretty good,
10,
didn't we? Did we?
We-
only 3 girls.
Maybe one
We
or two
said
honorable
top
mentions?
10.
Yeah.
There may be 1 or 2 honorable mentions.
Yes.
Just 1 or
Interesting.
2.
One or
Someone
two.
said about Baby Yoda, this is the way. On here.
This is the way.
This is the way. So,
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see how much overlap. I
Yes.
know there were 1 or 2 that I
Absolutely.
think made my list and Sarah's list.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what the rest of the ladies' overlap
got some
was like.
editing to do for that video, but it'll be fun.
Coming soon.
Tantrum Con, we'll wrap up the video here.
TantrumCon is coming February 30th.
Yeah,
No,
start with
January.
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 It's coming soon.
February 30th, join us.
January.
January
Don't do it.
30th.
There's no February 30th.
So,
I
someone
think this
threw that out
year.
there.
Is there this year?
No, it's only if it goes to
29th.
the 29th. Yeah, only if it
This
goes to
is leap year.
29.
29.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought this was the year.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the random year they add 2 extra
Right.
days to
Every
yeah,
30
no.
millennia, you gotta catch up.
If you can make it to TantrumCon, that would be amazing. Someone asked how can they support our channel. Probably in April, we'll run a Kickstarter campaign, and you can support us through that. You can always support us by watching and subscribing and commenting, and of course,
sharing.
Yeah.
sharing. That's
Sharing
always
is
a
an awesome
good
way.
Yeah,
support.
and if
but
you missed out on this year's Kickstarter for season 6, you can still check out some of the items that we had on there. We have some of the
Some of
promos
the promos
available,
are still
just on our
available.
website. so-
TantrumHouse.com.
Yeah,
Cool.
just a few of them.
/shop, I think.
Yeah.
TantrumCon.com is where you learn about TantrumCon.
Yep.
And you can get badges now. We still have a couple standard or premium badges left. Not
Oh,
very
yeah.
many. Those are going super fast.
Yep.
They are.
And then a couple plenty of regular badges. Hoping to have a fantastic turnout
Yes.
in Spartanburg, South Carolina. You should make the trip. Tons of free giveaways, learn to plays, play to wins, Got some cool people coming to join us, so it's going to be fun to hang out with them. We just talked about another new live show we're going to do while we're there.
Yep.
And man,
It's great.
Fun.
All right.
I think that probably much does it. Probably much.
Bye.
Press that button. Oh, wrong button. Let me do it. Good job. You're so
Oh.
close. Everyone keep saying bye.
Hey.
Bye.
Michael,
Tantrum Con.
it predicts
Yes.
a
Pre-order
crossover.
bags
What?
and
Yeah.
t-shirts.
Predict a crossover of silver and wingspan.
How would that work?